late, you kids.
What a meathead.
Screw that guy.
Peacemaker Season 2 just revealed the secret identity of James Gunn's next movie. Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn, and Peacemaker Season 2 kicked things off with a recap that retconned the ending of the first season, giving us now the Justice Gang instead of the Justice League. Where once stood the DCEU's Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Henry Cavill's Superman, we now have Supergirl, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, Superman, and Mr. Terrific. But this isn't just some fun little switcheroo to place Peacemaker into the DCU. This lineup has huge implications for what's coming next in the DCU saga, and the secret movie that James Gunn has been working on as his Superman follow-up. Gunn also revealed in a Threads post why Batman's silhouette wasn't part of this new lineup in Peacemaker, and we're gonna dive into that a little later because it has some pretty big implications for the first DCU team movie. And hey, by the way, be sure to check out ScreenCrush on all major podcasting platforms, and a little later I'm gonna share with you guys some awesome merch we have over at ScreenCrushMerch.com. So first, let's talk about this new lineup. Gunn could have easily just had the actual official members of the Justice Gang show up in that scene. Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl. Remember, at this point in time, Metamorpho isn't on the team, and he's still in Lex's Pocket Universe prison because Season 1 of Peacemaker takes place before Superman. But Gunn took things a step further by not only including Superman in this lineup, but Supergirl as well. We know from the Superman movie that Superman works with the Justice Gang pretty often. They even know his secret identity.
So you know he's Clark Kent.
Oh my God, why does he trust everyone?
He does it. Just us, because we are also of the cloth.
Now sure, there's the possibility that Gunn just wanted the gag of swapping the Justice League with the Justice Gang and to have all of our new DCU heroes that we've met thus far in the lineup. But you know, James Gunn is a writer and director who is very intentional. He's not the type of creator to just do things for the hell of it. He thinks these things through and ponders the implications of everything he does. And Gunn swapping the Justice League with the Justice Gang was more than just a gag. It was more than a fun and quite frankly brilliant way of making clear that Peacemaker is now in the DCU. I think beyond a gag, this was also Gunn's way of giving us a hint that the DCU's Justice League and Avengers equivalent is coming sooner than we expected, but with a major twist. So we know that Supergirl is the next DCU movie featuring Millie Alcock's Woman of Tomorrow going toe-to-toe with former Aquaman Jason Momoa as Lobo. And of course, Crypto will be there too.
Come on. Thanks for watching him, bitch!
Now, while Supergirl will very much be its own standalone film, it is part of what James Gunn is calling the Superman Saga, a saga that he has teased will consist of 4 films.
The story that I'm going to tell about Superman over 4 movies.
Superman would be the first of those 4 movies, and Supergirl would be the second, and Superman will definitely have a role to play in that Supergirl movie, likely not a big role, but a role nonetheless. So that brings us to the next 2 movies after that. The third film in this saga is what Gunn has called a Superman follow-up, but not a proper Superman 2. He's described it as a non-traditional follow-up taking place, quote, within the group of characters we have already met, and Superman is an important element. Allow me to translate. James Gunn is doing what I've been saying he'd do for years now. He is breaking the mold. The traditional release format of comic book films and what they look like and build to has become overdone and stale. It's a successful format, no doubt, but Gunn isn't shackling himself to that formula. Gunn is interested in one thing, telling great stories with interesting characters in epic movie installments, as well as in epic TV series installments. He's not interested in rushing certain projects into production or having to follow an old playbook. He just wants to make good movies and television. And Gunn is bringing to the table perhaps his biggest strength, the ability to tell ensemble stories. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about team-up movies, I'm talking about found family team movies.
What's the difference?
Thank you, Patrick. Here's the difference. Guardians of the Galaxy and, say, The Suicide Squad, those aren't team-up movies. They aren't movies that are culmination events featuring a crossover team-up of characters who are coming from their own series of films where they were the lead, like an Avengers movie, for example. No, James Gunn is great at making movies that start with a collection of characters who together are the lead. They don't have prior individual franchises that they carried on their own and now worlds are colliding. No, these are characters who are a found family, and their ensemble found family nature is the leading character, much like with the Fantastic Four. To read a Fantastic Four comic or watch a Fantastic Four movie, we don't need each character to have their own standalone story before watching the movie or reading the comic. Fantastic Four movies are not team-up movies, they are found family team movies, in which the ensemble of the Fantastic Four is the lead character. The same is true for the X-Men. We didn't need the Wolverine movie, the Cyclops movie, the Storm movie, and the Magneto movie before we got the first X-Men movie. That is also a found family ensemble cast. And hey, one more example that's closer to home is the Guardians of the Galaxy films and even the Suicide Squad. Now, I can already hear the comment section starting to rumble that Zack Snyder tried breaking this mold with Batman v Superman. He skipped the Batman and Wonder Woman origin stories and just jumped straight in. But here's the problem with Batman v Superman and it being the second film in that DCEU. One, the movie just wasn't that good, but hey, that's my personal opinion, and I say that as a big Man of Steel fan. But anyway, Batman v Superman, it wasn't a natural ensemble film. That movie, via studio pressure to catch up with Marvel, was a rushed wannabe culmination event film that had nothing to culminate. They hadn't put in the work to build the world that the story was taking place in. Gunn, on the other hand, has already brilliantly established the DCU with one movie. Now, I tell you all of this because I think that Gunn has in mind for this film what he is best at, an ensemble family movie. A movie, by the way, that he says he has completed the treatment for, meaning that he has already written a detailed outline of the script. He also said that he anticipates this will be the next DCU movie after Supergirl. Now, this third installment of the Superman Saga will likely be led by Superman to the same degree that Star-Lord is the lead of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But characters like Supergirl, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and of course Crypto will be there as well. And I believe Gunn is going to be adapting a DC story that we all know and love. Now, some will say, oh, that's too many characters, and that's a criticism you'll often hear when it comes to, like, Avengers movies. Oh, how are they going to make this work with so many characters, yet they do it every time? And the answer is they do it the same way almost every other movie that's not a comic book film handles having a large cast of characters. Movies of all genres are filled with characters, but for some reason when it comes to superheroes, people always think that it won't work. And that's primarily due to teams like the Avengers and the Justice League consisting of such heavy hitters that can carry their own franchises individually. Again, the difference between an ensemble found family and just a big team-up movie. So let's take an example that everyone has seen. Star Wars. The first Star Wars movie had Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, R2 and 3PO, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, Tarkin, and more. Was that too many characters? No, because it too was a found family ensemble cast of a movie. It's not an Avengers-style movie where you're taking characters who are huge heavy hitters that typically carry their own franchises and ride solo, and temporarily shoving them into a movie where they're fighting over screen time. These found family-style movies are movies that from the jump start with the idea of these characters working together as a team, and that's what we got in Superman. Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Metamorpho were all supporting cast in that movie, as were Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and of course Crypto. Sure, it was a Superman movie, but they had big roles to play, and that's going to continue in this Superman follow-up. And what I like about this is that it doesn't feel like we're rushing to some big culmination event. We're just telling a good story with a fun group of characters that isn't following this strict formula. And that is why I think that there is a 0% chance that this movie is called The Justice League. I think that the DCU's Justice League is going to be a movie that we get years from now and that will serve as the DCU's version of Infinity War. And of course that movie will feature Batman, Wonder Woman, I'd assume Flash and Aquaman, and that's great. I look forward to it. But for the love of God, we don't need that right now. Those characters and that name Justice League, if you ask me, it still leaves a bit of a bad taste in my mouth from just how much of a shit show the former DC universe was. We need some time to pass before we jump into Justice League.
So what, is the next movie gonna be the Justice Gang?
No, buddy. This movie has been described by Gunn and Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav as a super family movie. Now, my first inclination was, oh, they're doing a Superman and Supergirl movie. But I think it's going to be more than that. We are getting the found family super family. We're getting a movie that takes place at a really pivotal time for metahumans following the events of Superman. And I think we're getting a movie that has that campy, hopeful, optimistic feel of Superman. And that's why this movie has to be called Super Friends.
That cartoon from the 70s?
Yes, but the name has also been utilized for some comics as well, and I think that that vibe really fits the same campy vibe that Gunn is going for in this DCU, at least this Superman wing of the DCU. And I think characters from the Super Friends show, like Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog, will be there in spirit as Lois, Jimmy, and Crypto. Wendy was smart, curious, and resourceful, like Lois. Marvin was a little goofy, but very big-hearted and always looking to help, like Jimmy Olsen. And Wonder Dog was, well, a dog with a cape.
What about Batman and Wonder Woman? Oh, and Aquaman. They're part of the Super Friends too.
Great question, and yeah, this adaptation of Super Friends won't be a direct copy and paste. There won't be a Batman or a Wonder Woman, not yet anyway. There was actually a Threads post where someone asked why Batman's silhouette wasn't in the Peacemaker Justice Gang lineup, which is honestly a fair question since unofficial members like Superman and Supergirl were there, and Gunn has already shown us a silhouetted Batman in Creature Commandos. Now, James Gunn did respond and said that Batman is not associated with the Justice Gang and that that's why he wasn't there. And to me, that was a huge indicator that Gunn may actually be doing what I have been begging for him to do with this DCU. Pump the brakes on Batman.
What did you say?
Batman is my favorite DC character by far, but for way too long, DC has leaned on Batman and shelved so many other of their great characters, including Superman. DC has not been giving these characters the limelight that they deserve. And I've talked about how the MCU had to do without their golden goose Spider-Man for the first 8 years of their cinematic universe. And I think they were better for it. Not having Spider-Man to lean on forced Marvel Studios with their MCU to really dedicate time and attention to the stories of other B and C-list heroes like Iron Man. And I think the same is true for the DCU. Sure, they have Batman at their disposal, unlike the MCU, who were legally barred from using Spider-Man because he was still tied up with Sony. But despite Gunn having access to Batman, I hope that he does show a little restraint and doesn't immediately put Batman at the forefront of the story, and so far, he's not. Which I'm very glad about, and I'm really only comfortable saying all that because we have got a great Batman universe going right now with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson.
I'm vengeance.
Let them do their Batman trilogy before you go introducing a new DCU Batman on the big screen. Use this time as an opportunity to really explore these other characters and make them beloved and pop culturally iconic, and then bring in your heavy hitters like Batman later down the road after the Reeves trilogy has completed. And you know, from the sounds of this third installment of the Super Saga, that seems to be exactly what Gunn is doing. He is putting Superman at the forefront of this universe, quite frankly where he belongs. And while Gunn has straight up said how important characters like Batman and Wonder Woman will be to the new DCU, he's not in a hurry. He is taking his time and wants all of the scripts and the planning to be absolutely perfect before they pull the trigger on anything. And guys, by the way, we have a lot of fun DC and Marvel inspired parody merch up on our merch store right now, ScreenCrushMerch.com. Shopping our merch store is the best way to support our channel. We thank you so much for your support. So what does a Super Friends movie look like? Well, my guess is we're going to see Brainiac featured as the villain. Remember, Gunn has confirmed that Brainiac was considered for the villain of the first Superman movie, and we've also seen this dope storyboard art featuring Superman, Supergirl, Crypto, and right below we see a panel with Brainiac. I think Brainiac would be the perfect villain for a Super Friends movie because he is traditionally a Superman villain, but with him being an extraterrestrial villain, he also fits in great with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, and with Brainiac being a rogue AI, he's a great foe for Mr. Terrific as well.
Okay, so what's the fourth movie?
Well, they could go the route of ending the Super Friends movie with a little gag where they temporarily change the name of the Justice Gang to Super Friends, but then settle on a more serious name like the Justice Society. And maybe they do that thing that Thunderbolts did where the end title is Justice Society. I don't know. But my bet and my hope is that the fourth film following that Super Friends movie will just be a proper Superman sequel, Superman 2. And in that movie, I would love to see Kal-El and Kara's Kryptonian past come back to haunt them with General Zod's invasion of Earth, or perhaps even a twist where Kal-El's dad comes in Zod's place and is disappointed that his son has failed to conquer Earth like he asked him to do in that message.
Lord over the planet as the last son of Krypton.
That would be a very Superman-centric story that could still, of course, feature Supergirl in a leading role, as well as the rest of the Super Friends team. And then, down the line, after we we've had these 4 hopefully awesome Superman-centric movies that have made us all fall in love with this rich new universe of characters, then you can bring in more classic characters like the Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and of course Batman to join the fold, and give us that long-awaited Justice League. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.